Did you know that an olive is actually a fruit and not a vegetable? The production of olive oil has helped humans survive for more than 6,000 years and has created an industry around the world that everybody knows about. Olive oil is commonly used when cooking and is also commonly used as a condiment, but also has many uses for hair and skin care due to the high levels of antioxidants found inside of olives. First, I will talk about the process of choosing and harvesting olives, and then I will discuss the oil extraction process. And finally, I will speak about the storage and refinement of that olive oil. Now that I've shared with you what I'm going to be informing you on today, I'm going to share with you which olives are specifically selected and when. Olives are usually gathered during late September during the green ripe stage, as they call it. Green olives are the best olives because they have the most antioxidants and the most bitter taste, which is ideal for olive oil. And olives are mainly gathered by machines. It's not so much of a hand picked business anymore, unless these are the high end olive oil businesses. Those are hand picked. And according to Blatchley at the Journal of Chemical Education, as olives mature, they progress from a green through a mixed color called veraison to black. Green olives produce the lowest yield of oil but have the most grassy and bitter flavor, and that has the highest antioxidant concentration and shelf life for stores. The same source also suggests that oil be made shortly after harvest, less than 1 day for the highest quality of oil, but ideally less than 8 hours. This is because it reduces the amount of time that the olive starts to break down, and you just instantly harvest the oil without it starting to break down at all. Now that I have discussed how olives are selected for harvesting, I'm going to explain the process of how the oil is extracted. According to Griznik, Debika, and her colleagues at the National Center for Biotechnological Information, the process of extraction of olive oil involves crushing the olives under immense elevated pressure, which separates the oil from the fruit. Once you separate the oil from the fruit, you put the oil into a press. And when you press the oil, this is where the distinction between extra virgin olive oil and refined olive oil comes into play. Extra virgin olive oil is created when workers press the oil into natural filters and everything is done by hand, and that is what's known as extra virgin olive oil. However, when workers press this olive oil into factory type situations with large refineries, this is what's known as refined olive oil. It is less natural and more factory involved. Also, according to El Garbi and the Italian Journal of Food Science, olive fruits are sun dried and thrown upon a stone floor and dried for up to 15 days. Once completely dry, they are stored in plastic bags for up to 2 years for storage before processing to obtain the oil. This is done because you can't immediately get the oil from an olive. Olives are very hard and they're very durable. They're not easy to get oil out of. And so when you dry them for 2 years, they become very brittle and they become very malleable. And so you can press the oil out of them a lot easier when you dry them. And drying the black olives often sun dries the olives, which enhances the flavor as well and also increases the amount of oil extracted from the olive. The oil produced is mixed with green olive oil to create unique oil blends. So we have green oil, we have green and black oil, we have all kinds of olive oil. Now that I've spoken about how olive oil is extracted from the olives, let me explain how the oil is properly stored. According to El Garbi and the colleagues at the Italian Journal of Food Science, after extraction, oils are transferred into 250 milliliter amber glass bottles and stored in darkness at room temperature at about 25 Celsius. This is done because sunlight and oxygen can degrade the quality of olive oil over time, and so when you have a darker bottle, less oxygen and less sunlight gets exposed to your olive oil, which keeps the quality greater over time. 57 Fahrenheit is the ideal temperature for storing olive oil, but room temperature also works, which is about 70 Fahrenheit. And according to Cecilia Rodriguez from the Forbes magazine, a study last year by the National Consumer League found that 6 out of 11 bottles sold as extra virgin olive oil by three major retailers, Whole Foods, Safeway, and Giant, all failed to meet extra virgin requirements. What this means is there are olive oil distributors that are not actually selling extra virgin olive oil. They market it as extra virgin olive oil, but it is actually just refined olive oil created in a factory. What you have to do is look for the extra virgin seal created by the California Olive Oil Council, and this is going to be found on different bottles, but it will not be found on plastic containers, such as this one. This is from Costco, from the Kirkland brand. It says extra virgin olive oil, and it even has a little seal, but it is not actually extra virgin because no extra virgin olive oil is going to be sold inside of a plastic bottle. They don't do that. No good distributor will do that. And you have to look for a harvest date. So the harvest date is how you know if it's an authentic extra virgin olive oil because the producers always put a harvest date on their bottles. And so you want to buy directly from a producer or from a farmer's market rather than buying from Whole Foods or Safeway or any of these major distributors because they're just trying to cut corners and make a buck rather than actually distribute quality goods. Now that I've shared the different parts to the olive oil production process, let me conclude by reviewing the main points. First, I spoke about how the olives get selected for harvesting and when they get selected for harvesting, and also what types of olives are best. Then I discussed the process of extracting that oil and how you have to dry the olives for 2 years before you even think about touching the oil. And finally, I explained how the oil is then stored and refined for us consumers to taste. I hope I did a great job at explaining how olive oil is made and the different steps required for the manufacturing process. What you can do is educate yourself on what you're buying because a California study conducted in 2013 estimated that 69% of all olive oil sold in North America was adulterated or passed off as authentic. So almost 70% of olive oil is marketed as authentic but is really not. So that's olive oil, and be careful in what you buy.